The Real Estate Story with Adrian Butera.
Hi everybody and welcome once again to The Real Estate Story, coming to you live here from my downtown studio here in Williamstown. In fact, my daughter's bedroom for those that have just tuned in. I'm once again excited and delighted to have you all join me here today. We've had a very interesting week in real estate. We once again are still in lockdown here in Victoria. For those listening outside of the state from around the world, we are in stage 4 lockdown. We can't move out of our homes, certainly not to conduct any form of real estate business. But we're doing our best. We're cutting through, I can say directly. This week, I've been fortunate and challenged to be involved with some wonderful meetings with the state government. In fact, meeting the Deputy Health Officer during the week as part of a lobbying campaign and try and get across the line at least one-on-one inspections. I would hope to expect, my optimism says, we're going to get this sooner or later and not have to wait until the end of October. We can only hope. But more on that, I'm sure, in the coming days or weeks. We'll announce that and I'll be delighted to share some good news. I really, really hope our industry gets that one, not for us, but for all our clients that need that shelter, need that accommodation. Ladies and gents, today I've got a dear friend that I've known for 25 years, and although we don't catch up often, when we catch up we reminisce on the time that we have known each other. Someone that's a real important, powerful auctioneer, female auctioneer, arguably one of Australia's most prominent female auctioneers, certainly one of Victoria's. And I'm excited and delighted to have Tonya Davidson with us here this afternoon. Tonya, welcome.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks for that kind introduction. I'm excited to be here from our lounge room here in Hawthorne East lockdown.
Yeah, look, it's wonderful to have you here. And as we reminisce, 25 years at least, we've known each other. It's auctioneering initially that brought us together, 1993. Now, tell me, you won the Novice Auctioneers competition in 93. Were you the first female auctioneer to win that?
I believe there was another female 10 years prior, but no one else.
There you go. Okay, take it.
No one else. I'm not sure if she remained in the industry, but yeah, it was an exciting time to win. Yeah.
It was a real exciting time, and of course, real estate very different then, certainly than it is today. And you've continued on a career in real estate for a couple of decades. I'm guessing you stepped away at some short periods. You're a mother of 3 or 2?
Yeah,
3.
yeah. I did quite a bit of coaching, training, mentoring in that time, which I really enjoyed. Having had a team prior to moving into that arena, that coaching, training, mentoring. And I have met some absolutely wonderful clients who obviously remain friends today. But as the children got older, the call to be at the coalface got stronger, and that was always the intention, to go back in some form. Mm.
And Davidson Property Advocacy, is that right?
Yeah, advocates, yeah.
Advocates. So this is a wonderful business that you're currently running, and it seems like it's a wonderful brand. I've had a bit of a snoop around and checked you out. But before we get into that, I want to talk about your career, because I think it really sets a great path. You've been on a wonderful journey. You've been an active salesperson and leader within the selling industry of real estate in the Inner East. Tell us the marketplaces that you practiced in when you were selling. I know you were wonderful at it, but what areas and what marketplaces did you specialise?
Well, when I initially started, it was predominantly Hawthorne, Kew, and I carried that area all the way through. But as you would know, Adrian, as you spend more and more time in the industry, your contacts become wider and vast, and referrals sort of take you further afield, because it becomes about the people and the relationship and the trust, and less about the property. Property is obviously important, but the relationships become richer, deeper, more meaningful, and that's where that trust comes in. So, but if we looked at the main core areas, it's the Inner East. I spent a lot of time in Studley Park, Kew, Hawthorne East, and the like, Camberwell, Canterbury. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Main core areas. But having said that, I do remember driving to Sandy Point to auction 4 blocks of land, so I got
Sandy
taken.
Point near Inverloch. Is it that way?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. Wow.
I
I,
shot down there on a Sunday and consummated those 4 sales. I remember that. That was a while ago.
I think I read somewhere in the last 12 months that Sandy Point's one of the most affordable places in Victoria. Perhaps
Yeah.
it was then, maybe it still is now, which is a great little takeaway for everybody. So in the inner east, you've concentrated in the inner east.
Mm.
That's where your selling background was. You live there as well, is that right?
Yeah, I live in Hawthorne East and
Yep.
have done for many, many years. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I bought here when I worked here. I was really committed to the area that I worked in. And then when I had a family, we moved 6 houses down from where I was. So I don't necessarily like moving too far afield. Um,
You
but
really believe in the area, don't you?
yeah, in terms of Hawthorne East, for me, it has a somewhat of a, I know it's hard to believe, it has a very rich community country feel. Some quaint little shops, but the people and the community and the local schools um, really, really make it an engaging area. Other areas offer that too, but yeah, I've really enjoyed living here and the landscape and architecture. There's a number of factors.
So, having sold in the area, live in the area, and I can hear just by those few lines you've got a passion for the location. What's it like being an advocate in that same location?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love working with people, firstly. Um, and I only work with a select number. I'm not a high turnover. My business is not built for that. My past lives have been high turnover, but really, at my age, I sound like I'm really old, but at my age, I really enjoy the relationship, the journey, the conversations, the outcome, setting people up, starting portfolios, moving the family. It's such an honour to work with people. And I think that is the most enjoyable part. The backdrop being the area. I love the area and I love the architecture. And I've got an intimate knowledge of all things, inner east and moving on to Stonington as well. I've really enjoyed these areas, and I know my knowledge is very deep, so I can help people in that respect.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about helping people. And I don't. I know that you're not just an advocate in your area. You walk down, right down through Stonington, Burundara, Stonington, and you talk about moving into the Mornington Peninsula, which is
Yeah.
wonderful. And let's talk about the sort of clients that you're dealing with. And obviously, no personal details, but I'd love to understand what their needs are, what they look for, not only in real estate, but what do they look for in you to help them facilitate a series of transactions, I'd expect.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think it's varied somewhat. Um, I think one of the things that I bring to the table for my clientele is time, and a very good portion of my time, because I cap the number of people I work with, and I'm very upfront about that. So for me, it's how it's sort of unfurled is there are a great deal of people that are scaling down, which have continued through this period. So they're coming from the big family home and perhaps retirement, moving into that sort of arena. At the other end of the spectrum, through referrals and network, helping out a number of sort of clients' children where they need a helping hand and they know of me and the trust is already there. So, for example, we've got some nurses, people that really aren't so much affected by COVID financially, and they still want to move into buying their first property, etc. And then there's another area which is the executives, the very time poor, where they may travel a lot or they've just got their plates full, and they reach out to me as well.
So, I mean, the nurses are a beauty because I'd say they're also time poor at the moment. They seem to be busier than
Absolutely.
ever. But let's say those executives. I mean, there's a series of transactions that I talk about, and I'm keen to know is this started part of your scope of work, such as getting the removalists in, dropping off, such as buying the property, negotiating? What if they've got another property to sell? Do you help them secure the agent? Take me through some of that process.
Yeah, I think so. The process, firstly, if we're looking at a buyer client, a buyer advocacy, I spend a great deal of time on the brief, the due diligence. So the last thing you want to do is start working with somebody, and after 3 months, you say, "Look, I don't think we can fill this brief. It just doesn't add up." So we spend quite a lot of time at the initial stages so that we're on the same page and we can move forward together. And then the second part of, I think, is just so crucial, and that's something that I'm really proud of, is the communication. So I've always been very big on communication and communication schedules with clients, even when I was selling real estate in my past professions. Um, so what I've done is created a client portal, and where it's led me is the trust, because trust is so important before you hit the negotiation table. If you don't have trust and you haven't built it in that period of time, unfortunately, opportunities can be missed, and the only person that loses is the client. So the portal that I create, I log on. It's a running tally of what's been done that day. I love it. It's accountability for me, and it's clear communication. And when I mention time poor clients, that's what they love. They can just tap on their phone. Okay, what's she done today? Is it authentic? You know, what can we see? Are we moving forward? What is she doing behind the scenes?
Does that
And
replace phone calls or texts, or you still on the
yeah,
front foot with that? Yeah.
what was that?
Does that replace phone calls and messages, or is that
No,
the main? No.
no. So, for example, I will post and so that they have a running tally, but it depends on the person. So I have one client I just rang before, and I know she has back-to-back Zooms, but she likes a phone call now and then. So if she picks up, great, and I'll have a quick chat. I'll say, I know you're between Zooms, quick chat. This is what's happened, but that goes on the portal. So if I miss her, she can just go on there,
Yeah. Right.
and it's transparent. I think that's the thing. It's
Yeah. Awesome.
transparent. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've often said in our industry, and I'm sure the same is for many industries, communication's key. If you've got good communication, there is a confidence and trust that carries with that, which
Yeah.
certainly you're demonstrating with some of the tools that you're using within your trade. With your knowledge and experiences, if I was to draw upon that, if I was to engage you, apart from the communication, I trust you, but what knowledge and experiences are often sought from advocates? You're spending a lot of money in a lot of cases. You've got people's trust. We know that. But what experience do you bring to the table uh, as well?
Yeah. Well, again, it starts with the client themselves. You have clients that they're very specific on what they want, and so you'll fulfill that. You have clients that need guidance, and you can bring that knowledge to the table. Um, One of the values that we have at our company is meaningful knowledge. So, knowledge that they can actually apply and draw from. So I'm pretty sure you know, but I work very closely with my husband who runs a valuation company upstairs from me. So he
At
and I work.
home, upstairs at home. Is that right?
No, at the office
Oh,
when
at the
we
office.
he's in the same room at home. So we're really art property people, but and he works in the same market, the luxury market in Hawthorne East and Inner East and Mornington Peninsula. We work in very similar markets. So that knowledge and that sounding board I bring to the table. And I guess the many years in terms of experience, you know, the saying, you can't put an old head on young shoulders. It's just through all of the trials and tribulations I've been through. I can share those experiences, you know, exactly what I'm talking about. I'm sure you bring that to your clients as well. And you know what to steer them away from and where that could possibly lead. And that builds that tapestry of advice that you provide them, um, you know, pertaining to their personal situation.
So those experiences, trading in that marketplace for years as an agent, and then those experiences you've had as a local resident, and obviously your husband, in the same industry. I dare say your pillow talks similar to D and I in our household, our pillow talk. It doesn't seem to go away. But what about agents? Because you're an agent once, and I imagine part of your role is dealing with agents. Uh, what's that like? What's it like when you're on the other side of the fence, or what side are you on?
That is such a great question. Um, because I think it's very mixed depending on what advocate you speak to. Um, I have very rich, deep relationships because remember, I had that solid period of time where I was coaching, mentoring, training, and I met some great agents. Now, um, I have a lot of respect for agents, and I think that that is a very good platform from which to move forward when I negotiate. There's no point in demonizing the opposition. I don't think it gets you the result that you desire. And I think that, as with anybody I deal with, I give them a high level of respect, and I think that that is reciprocated, and that's what I have found. So I've got very good communication with agents, but I think I think it's very clear that we both work for different parties, and we respect that. They're out there. I think I put a post out recently that they're out to get as much as they can for the vendor, and rightly so. That's what they're employed to do. So we're clear of what the rules of the game are, but they respect that I'm there to represent my client as well. So that's sort of my take on it.
Yeah, good. And I expect that would be common. There'll be the exceptions to the norm, I would expect, but we won't talk about them. They exist out there, but they're the exception. Now, tell me, so dealing with agents in some cases leads to auction. Your auction history, your auctioneering history, I should say, as one of Melbourne's most prominent female auctioneers. Um, what's the advantage of being a great auctioneer attending to bid?
I
Is there an
I,
advantage?
I can run. I can see it. It's when you can see the play from the other person's point of view. I think, as you would know, being one of the great auctioneers yourself, when you go out, you're running a play in your mind, you're sizing up, who's going to be a bidder. You can see the nerves. You're looking at the body language. You've got a whole dialogue going on in your mind and sizing things up and pulling it all together and strategizing. And I think what does help is I don't necessarily view um, every bidding job, if you like, from a buyer's point of view or even a buyer's advocate's point of view. I think old habits die hard, and I think this serves me well. I kind of start with, right, where's the auctioneer at? What are they thinking? Where are they coming from?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
good. What a
so
great
yeah,
perspective to
I don't
consider it
think
from.
that was conscious. I think that just happened.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a wonderful way to view it, and an important one as your role as an advocate for a buying client. I think critical. I've written down here one of my questions, and I don't think I framed it properly. But what I meant to say was, do you particularly have a must-have or not have for a client? So I know some advocates that won't let their clients buy a townhouse on a main road. Do you have a formula? You say, you know what, we're not going to do that. If that's what you want to look at, I'm not going to act for you with the same sort of passion.
Oh no, no, no. I would certainly voice my opinion, um, and I would share with them. So it really depends on the client. So if they're looking to me for guidance, I'd still voice my opinion and say, look, that's fine. If that's what you want, you need to be near your mother and the main roads. But I just need you to know that X, Y, Z. So if we're dealing with a blank canvas, yes, I would. There are some fundamentals that I would avoid. And look, for me, main roads, mainly from the resale point of view, etc. I look at the type of land, type of title, orientation does play a part, but there's some flexibility in that. If we're looking at apartments, we don't look at new necessarily. We don't look at large blocks. We look at the body corporate. We don't look at gyms and the like and all of those add-ons. We also look at the land content. We consider the style, future maintenance. But there are some fundamental things that I would be steering my client from, such as main roads, such as large blocks.
Do you always get a building and pest inspection? Is that part of the standard repertoire?
Yeah, I think that's part of your due diligence.
Yeah.
It's such a big financial commitment for people. You have to get it right. You have to cross all your T's and dot all your I's. That is part of it.
Yeah, I think it's important. So good on you for doing that. How about you? Every now and again, you must get clients that say, right, Tonya, we've referred to you. We're from Sydney. We're from somewhere else in the world. We're coming to Melbourne, and the inner east is it. Where should we look? I mean, there's a lot of cool suburbs in the inner east. How do you guide people? Do you add your own personal opinion, or do you ask them a bucket load of questions?
Yeah, great. It's tempting to say, well, you should live in Hawthorne East because X, Y, Z. But really, you've got to start, and you hit the nail on the head. You've got to start with the question: where are you working? Where are your kids going to school? What's your lifestyle? And those questions are going to help you advise them which suburbs are going to work for them. If their kids have to walk home or travel home from school and they're not around with their profession, well, then that's a consideration too. Where the school is and the proximity to the home. So it really comes down to the questions you ask. Um, and if it happens to be Hawthorne East, well, then I can sing the praises of the area.
So how has this may be an obvious question, it may be an obvious answer, but how has COVID-19 impacted your business at the moment?
Yeah. Um, I'm a I'm a busy person, so I think you're hard pressed to find me sort of twiddling my thumbs. In terms of the client work, things are on hold a little bit. I'm doing some. There's only so much sort of research. There's not a lot coming onto the market, as you probably know. But I have a very extensive business plan, so it's just I'm excited because I'm implementing a lot of things that I thought would take me 2 years to implement. I think that there are positives. I'm able to really work on projects at the moment whilst maintaining the clientele. So I'm calling them and maintaining that relationship and doing what we can and waiting for that time. Doing a few new client meets on Zoom, but that's really how my business has shifted as well. So look, I don't think it's all bad. I'm excited at the things that I've had an opportunity to implement.
There was an analogy shared with me yesterday about during this pandemic, and it was an example. A gelati shop, gelati shops have shut down, and these gelati shops are selling 3,000 scoops of ice cream a week.
Right.
And at the end of the pandemic, the gelati shop will go back to selling possibly 3,000 scoops a week. There's not a pent up pressure or an influx of people wanting to make catch up on all the scoops of ice cream that they didn't have during the pandemic closure. The gelati shop is likely to get back into a normal rhythm of 3,000 scoops per week very quickly, you would hope to think. But in our industry, I know in my business, and I dare say possibly in your business, there's this pent up pressure where we might sell 15, 20 properties a month. We have this build up of people wanting to sell, a build up of people wanting to buy, and we're not just going to do 20 the next month. We've got this built up pressure that needs to be released to some extent. Does the same apply to you?
Yeah, I think, and I've had a number of conversations on this, I think our Christmas from a real estate point of view is going to look a lot different. Our January is going to look a lot, I mean, traditionally it's always busy for the rental department in January and we do the European winter or we take the summer off in Australia. I don't think that that's going to be the case this year. I think it's going to be the days from Christmas to New Year and then it's business as usual. And we're going to be back on the tools because the demand will be there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I agree. I've said to a few people on Christmas Day, we will have property campaigns mid-campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's never happened to me ever,
Never.
ever.
Never.
So we'll be having Christmas dinner with our family and friends, we all hope, and we will have properties on the market mid-campaign with auctions scheduled in the second or third Saturday in January, or any day in January, because there's going to be a flexibility on when auctions will be called. And I'm really saying to people at the moment, my language is auction is not a 4-week campaign. Auction is the power of competition. If you've got competition within 2.5 weeks, then call the auction. If you've got competition on a Wednesday night, do it on a Wednesday night. Now, I know that's not always practically possible, but it at least teases and prompts the question.
A question for you. Do you think post-COVID we will keep, in certain cases, online auctions?
Yes. So I think online auctions are here to stay for the medium future, short to medium future at least, and then beyond that I'm not sure. But I can see our auctions going back on site when we're allowed to, but they'll still be online. So we will need to bring the equipment to the on-site. So that way we have the best of both worlds. And I use the example, we had one auction mid-pandemic, a couple of months back, and we had 115 people attending online. We had another auction on the Wednesday before the current lockdown. We had 21 registered bidders. I've never had 21 registered bidders in my life, let alone...
Ability, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. So I would say to, looking ahead, I don't have the crystal ball, but I would predict bringing auctions both on-site and online will amplify, will take them to another level, will give the consumer a choice. They'll be able to do it from home if they want to. If they want to live it and feel it, well, they can attend on site. I'm sure it'll be subject to a series of conditions, but we'll tick those boxes, and it'll be the new normal, as is the new word for 2020, the new norm.
I agree. I mean, I think the acceptance of the digital world, it's forced us in there, and now everyone's familiar with it, not afraid of it. So,
well, look at us here. As I say, we're only together
a year
because...
ago, I probably would have said, Zoom, what are you talking about?
I saw a post about the Brady Bunch, and there was a photo of the Brady Bunch, that initial slide that they played at the beginning of the show, and the comment was, how did they know about Zoom 40 years ago? Which I thought was hilarious.
I love that. That's
Tonya, it's a real delight to have you on the show, and the Davidson property advocate. You're there. You're operating in Burundara, Stonington, and right down to the peninsula. And as you say, you'll listen to your clients. I'm sure you'll work with them pretty much anywhere. If they like you and trust you, and you like them and trust them, I'm sure there'll be a great connection. Tonya, where do people find you? Those that are listening and thinking, I wouldn't mind tapping into you, where do they find you?
I think the easiest thing, Davidson Property Advocates, you can just Google, or you can email me direct, tonya@davidsonadvocates.com.au.
Perfect. Tonya, thank you so much for joining us on the show. The Real Estate Story, it's been a delight to have you on. It's always great to catch up. We may only catch up once or twice a year, but when we do, we always reminisce and have a bit of a chat. It's good to see you. We see each other a bit more frequently nowadays, don't we, because of school?
Yeah.
Our girls are at the same school, so that's great. Well, thanks for joining us. Ladies and gents, thanks for attending The Real Estate Story. We'll see you all next week.
The Real Estate Story brought to you by Compton Green.